Podcasting for Brands. IamTheHow.com.
Right, here we are. So Sound Art Radio 102.5 FM and online. I'm Dave Clark. I am The How. And I'm joined this afternoon by Anne and Christine. Both welcome back.
Thank you.
So now let's just think. So who was Anne? You came last year, didn't you, to the studio? And
yes,
I
did.
You were talking about the Scrivener?
Scrivener and editing probably, and writing workshops.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. And Christine, you were then a guest not long after talking about
Watermill Cottages.
That's it.
Yep. Digital detox.
The digital detox. Yeah, that was great. So, and good feedback?
Very good feedback, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
As ever.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
So, great. So, we're going to be talking about Wednesday Writers today.
That's correct.
So it all kind of links in. So you can listen to the programs that we've just mentioned online. They're available as a podcast. But let's just crack straight into this. So Anne, just tell us in a word or two, what is Wednesday Writers?
Wednesday Writers is an art estate that Christine and I co-host. It takes place at the Cottage Hotel, Hope Cove, 8 times a year on a Wednesday. It's a whole day workshop, and we devise the programme ahead of time. So we have 8 very different workshops in a year.
Brilliant. So we're gonna look at those like for the rest of the year. We're going to see how that's going to unfold. So just Christine, just tell me how did it all sort of come about? What's the story behind it?
Well, Anne and I had known each other through various writing groups for a long time, and 2 writers get together and ideas run, and we thought, actually, wouldn't it be great to have an artist's date?
Right.
Which is something Julia Cameron proposes in Living More Creatively, Writing More Creatively, where you devote time to nourish your creative soul and away from any distractions.
Right.
So we thought, we'd like to do this. And Anne's got an editing background. I'm a creative writer and a therapist.
Okay.
So we put together a programme, and this is our 3rd year. We have 4 or 5 guest speakers a year.
Yeah.
Who run workshops on different themes. You join them for lunch. It's very relaxed, informal. And it's been a great success.
Brilliant. So 3 years, and how do you kind of, that's a significant chunk of time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But things develop fast, don't they? So how would you say it's developed, say for the first one to where you are now?
Well, we actually thought about it in about the November, I think it was. We were on a writers' weekend at Christine's house, and we had, 10 people there. It went so well, and we thought we could do more of this. And then we sat down that November and planned it for the following March through to November.
Okay.
And thought about who do we know, what kind of topics would we want to cover. So that first year was very experimental. We really, stick a finger in the air.
Sure.
It went down very well. And then during that time, we asked the people who came, what do you really want? So we try and plan the 3 months of next year during the 3 months of this year.
Right.
So we're rolling the programme the whole time, and we take feedback. And then last year, people have contacted us and said, can I talk to your group?
So you feel like it's beginning to really pick up ground.
It's got a mind of its own almost.
Yeah.
We just steer now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So sometimes these ideas, the first thing when people have an idea is just to kind of just do it, don't think about it too much, and then see how it almost talks back, and those ideas very often develop, and then it has its own kind of life of its own, doesn't it? These things.
Yeah. And we have a good process. We have a good procedure. We work very well together. We work very differently, by chalk and cheese,
Right.
and that works really, really well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Good cop, bad cop.
No, absolutely. And I looked at a little bit of research before I came along to the studio this afternoon. So Christine, some of the things I saw as headings, areas to be covered, things like hooks, lines, and sinkers, setting the scene, developing characters. So what are the kind of things that generally people need to be thinking about when they sit down to create writing?
The best thing to do is not to think about it at all.
Okay.
The best thing to do is just write, put away your internal censor, and let whatever is in your head come out as it is. Don't stop it.
No.
When you think of it as a sculptor, so you're working with the raw material then. You've got your block of stone, which are the words on the page, and then you start thinking.
Okay.
Then you put a different hat on, and you start thinking about what you've got, what works, what doesn't work. And there's all kinds of things about framing stories. We can all tell stories. One of our objectives is that anyone and everyone has a story to tell. It's in our DNA. We've been doing it round campfires since time immemorial. So what gets in the way of that is people get nervous. They worry about what other people will think, what their voice will sound like. Are they allowed to say this?
Sure.
So really, writing authentically is a thing that you let happen.
Okay.
We enable that by creating a safe space. We do writing sprints. We have themes sometimes. People can read out if they want, or they don't have to.
Okay.
So you get used to this free flow of ideas.
So let me just sort of go back a step, because I think, I'm familiar with this. I'm sure a lot of people are. So the idea that you need to think about something before you start writing, what you're saying is you need not to get any thoughts in the way. Just get all of that raw material out of your head.
Mm-hmm. If you're talking about creative writing, if you're talking about blogging and you've got a particular theme, then you might have ideas that you want to cover.
Sure.
But equally, just go for it and see what comes out, because you might find yourself going in all kinds of interesting directions and making connections that are new, exciting, innovative. And then you find, you're really moving, and you can tell when you get in the zone.
Sure.
And then you step back from it, you put a different hat on it, sometimes you leave it for a while, and you start thinking about structure, balance. How will the reader, who is your audience, who is your reader?
Sure.
If it's a novel, it's one person. If it's a poem, it's a different person. If it's a blog, it's completely different. So then you're looking at how to engage attention, whether you need to build tension, whether you're looking at plot, setting, location, everything.
So you're basically going to be able to give people a steer on all the kind of things they need to be thinking about. But the bottom line, I guess, is this. So Anne, why is it so difficult? Why do people always seem to approach it in the wrong way? Why do people overthink stuff?
It comes down to confidence, really. I mean, they start off with thinking, I'm no good at this.
Yeah.
And that's a massive, massive barrier.
Yeah.
So if we just get them to do some writing and not necessarily share it, it's amazing how someone eventually will have the courage to share it. And we're a very supportive environment. And someone will say, oh, I love that. You just really captured whatever it was. And we see that person glow. It's a lovely, lovely thing.
Is, yeah.
The first time someone reads something out, and you can see they're shaking.
Yeah.
And then somebody else says, wow.
Yeah.
And then, it's like letting a balloon go. They just float off somewhere, and next time they come, more confidence. In the 2 years, we have seen people who've arrived nervous as anything, and now they are confident, but also they're supporting other people who they can see are nervous.
Sure.
And so it's lovely. I mean, we can teach technique, the hook, line, and thinker thing. Once someone's written something, you can look at it in a very objective way with my editing hat, if you like, and say, actually, it would work better if maybe you thought about da-di-da-di-da, to which they then learn the craft, if you like, of the writing side. But we don't want them to be thinking about all that.
No.
When they're trying to just get an idea down.
Because it's just funny, isn't it? The human sort of condition is such that the majority of us seem to be really quite terrified of what other people might think.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Yeah.
That's a bit odd, isn't it? Really. So that thing about I can't do this because I'm no good. It's very, very, very common, isn't it?
Well, it even happens when we have the review session. One of the barriers to communication, which Christine explains during that session, is we try them not to start their sentence with, I know nothing about this, but maybe I could offer a suggestion. They are a reader.
Sure.
I mean, they're there as writers, but if you're reviewing somebody else's work, you are a beta reader, if you like, we call them. Yeah. And your point is valid. I mean, either you were interested by it or you weren't.
Sure.
Either you were something that they said really touched you.
Yeah.
And so everybody has got the skill to look at somebody else's writing and say, I like that, or obviously how they say their comments is important.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
you've got somebody who's written something and are really a bit precious about it
Yes.
and feeling a bit vulnerable. So we
Yeah.
do have etiquettes and what have you.
Yeah.
But everybody, say one particular writer, I won't no names obviously, who said, I know nothing about this, but perhaps I could say. And you think,
Yeah.
they know lots about it.
Interesting, isn't it? I find, because I think that must be, it's very true for creative writing, but it's also true for the other creative arts as well. So when
Yes.
drawing or anything,
Yeah.
people always sort of go into these areas saying, I'm not very good at this, and it's that massive barrier about I think what people think is that there's some kind of weird idea that writers who are good sit down and they sort of have a blank page and they start at the top left hand of the corner, and then they basically do the beginning and the middle and the end, and it all works and weaves together brilliantly, and they do it effortlessly all in one go. And of course,
It's not true.
just
It
not
doesn't
like
work
that.
like that, no.
But people don't get that, do they?
No.
they-
A lot of people think that when they sit down to write, they need to or have to or must
Yeah.
produce a masterpiece.
Yes, exactly.
And, it doesn't work like that. It's like anything. It's like learning to ride a bike. You go in stages and you practice, you get your balance.
You fall off.
And you fall
Yeah,
off, you fall
absolutely.
off a few times, and then you shout, "Oi, get out the
Yeah.
way!" And
Yeah.
you find your voice.
Yeah, yeah.
You find your balance, and that's what it's about. It's about voice and learning to accept and listen to your own voice,
Yeah.
and that it's perfectly valid and what you've got to say. Nobody else has got your story.
No, quite. So it's about you. So the writers, the Wednesday writers meets at Hope Cove. You have all the experience and the process, different people, but ultimately what you're doing is you're giving people an opportunity to develop their own confidence.
Absolutely.
I guess.
Absolutely. And as I say, in a safe environment, because we've got to know each other. I can honestly say to anyone brand new coming along, if someone kind of come along next Wednesday, it's a lovely crowd. They'll be very welcoming. And doesn't matter where you are on your writing journey, you'll fit.
Sure.
It doesn't matter if you're at the very beginning, or if you're, lots and lots of experience, you can still learn stuff.
Sure.
Um,
And the other aspect of that is that if you gain confidence in that one area, then it can sort of manifest itself in other areas, in your life, I guess.
one would hope so.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
you feel
You just feel better in yourself.
yeah. If you know you can stand up and read something out to people that you've written, it might well give you confidence to
Yeah.
be more. I don't know whether assertive is the right word, but to be more
Yes.
sort of apparent in
More comfortable in your
Yeah.
skin and in your
Well,
voice.
I found with
Yeah.
my playwriting, the writing of the plays I enjoy doing. The editing of the plays is something I can do, so
Yeah.
I get there. But when you actually see it on the stage, it's priceless.
Sure.
For having other people read your, perform your
Yeah.
work. And in the same way, we've had this writing workshop today. Christine and I both belong to another writing workshop where our own work is looked at.
Okay.
And having people comment on my chapters, and the same when Christine's were actually poems today.
Right.
There's a glow.
Yeah.
I'm better for the session we had today.
Yeah, great.
Obviously, I've got lots of feedback,
Yeah.
lots of work to do on some stuff, but at the same time, what I produced, the fruits of my labour, were looked at and appreciated, and I got some really lovely feedback.
And as you said earlier, the word is diplomacy. So there are guidelines on how people can feed back to constructive.
The bottom line is you comment on the writing, not the writer.
Right. Okay.
So you focus on the words on the page
Yeah.
and what effect they've had on you,
Yes.
not the skills the writer has used in writing them.
No. Quite.
So
Yeah.
you might say, I got a bit confused there.
Yes. Yeah.
And then it's, if you like, it's the reader's fault,
Yes.
but actually the writer can
Learn
fix the situation by turning things around,
by
or
making it easier for the reader.
use a
to
different word
understand.
or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No. Quite. Gosh. So
Gosh.
lots of. Yeah. Well, fantastic. So. Okay, so let's get into a little bit more detail. So, who are some of the people coming along? I'd like to run through the 2020 program. Actually, that seems like a good idea. So, Anne, tell me a little bit more about Anna.
Well, Anna Ventura is she's an artist and a designer. I know her through Salcombe Art Club originally because my husband's also an artist. But she has a tidal gallery in Kingsbridge.
Okay, yes.
And she has worked with writers. locally and help them to produce their books. One lady, Michelle Mayer, one particular one I know personally. And so when Christine and I were talking about, what we might have in this year's programme, I said, we need to look at the publishing process. What about covers?
Right.
What about Anna? So I had a word with Anna and said, would you be willing to come along? And she said yes. And essentially what she's going to hopefully get across to our members that are there that day is that in our heads we've got an idea what we think the cover ought to be.
Sure.
We know what we want to put on it, the title of the book, our name, and maybe some other stuff. And we might have an idea of the image. But to convey that information to a designer...
Yes.
And get the designer to produce something that you think, oh, I like that.
Sure.
And also you've got to pay for it.
Yeah.
So she's going to educate us in what a designer needs from us, but she's also going to explain design techniques to do with fonts and colours and emotions and whether you use photos versus illustrations and all kinds of stuff.
Wow.
Show us some bad examples and some good examples, and that's in the morning. In the afternoon, perhaps I shouldn't give too much away, but essentially there's a workshop in the afternoon where everyone's going to end up with a cover.
Okay, great. Sounds great.
Yeah.
So it should be enormous fun.
So that's 4th of March.
Yes.
April Fool's Day.
April Fool's Day. Well, we've got Janet M. Smith coming to talk about writing children's fiction.
Right.
She's a Devon author who has written a young adult's novel, Tony Plum and the Moles of Elodian.
Right.
What would happen if your mind housed a spy? What secrets would it spill?
Gosh.
Now, her background is a psychiatric nurse and a psychodynamic counsellor, so she's applied this and she's been on a really good creative writing course, and she's coming to talk to us about how you engage younger readers, how you drive the plot forward, what's important.
Yeah.
It's going to be a really good workshop-led day, so plenty of opportunity to try out new worlds and new skills.
Sounds like a book for everybody.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
And we've never done children's writing before. We've done fiction, we've done various other genres, but this is the first time we've looked at children's fiction.
And so it's Tony Plum and the Moles of Elodian, and her website is www.elodian.com if you want to take a look.
Yeah, definitely.
And a nice book cover.
Yeah, no, I was going to say.
Very good.
She's obviously understands the importance of good judging a book by its cover.
Absolutely,
and all that.
yeah.
Okay, so Paul Dodgson, he's coming on the 6th of May.
Yes. Now, Paul Dodgson I met, first of all, because he was a tutor on a playwriting course I went on in Bridport. And then subsequent to that, he has self-published through crowdfunding a book called On the Road Not Taken. He's a musician. He's worked on Radio 4. Very talented gentleman. Fantastic writing, fantastic songs. His story is a memoir of the power of music, the effect that music had on him. He's a bit younger than me, but not ever so much younger than me. And the music that affected his life, I remember. So when you read, it's very comforting,
brilliant.
As it were. He in crowdfunding it, he did gigs around the country. He did one at my home.
Okay.
Must be 2 years ago now, and that was such fun.
Right.
So I did say to him, I supported your crowdfunding thingy. What about you coming along to Wednesday Writers, and what would you like to talk about?
Okay.
So we've agreed with him. He's going to talk about writing from life.
Brilliant.
From real things that have happened to you and the effect they've had on you. That'll be a very good.
See,
we'll get him to sing as well.
But that's an interesting one, isn't it? Because as you were saying, Christine, that we've all got stories, our lives.
Absolutely.
So, in theory, everybody should be able to write something that is really fascinating about their life.
We don't do shoulds or oughts or musts.
Consider yourself reprimanded.
So what?
Everybody does have a story. Everybody can tell a story. You listen to an adult tell an anecdote about what happened on the way to work, what happened,
Yeah.
Everyone can tell a story.
Yes. No, brilliant. Okay. So June, looks like it's the Anne and Christine show.
Yes. It is, yeah. We're doing reading and reviewing.
Okay.
So everyone submits 2,000 words, and we have a day where Anne and I have both read and we review, and then we involve everybody else as well. So we also run through how to review, how to give feedback, how to respond to feedback, blocks to communication, because there are many things that can stop you hearing. So we're very, very clear about that. And it really is a very productive day. You get some really focused feedback on your work.
I mean, how many numbers do you have coming along to the...
Well, the funny thing about that one is one year we had only 3 people, and beforehand I was expecting maybe 12 or 14, 15, and I was saying to Stephen, we need to put them in groups, I need to do this, we need to do that. I had it all planned, and then in the few days before I said, we've only got 3. She said, that's okay.
Yeah.
And actually those 3 turned up not expecting to be only 3.
No, quite.
But did they get a workshop?
Oh, I bet they did.
Yeah.
They really had an intensive day when their work was studied in huge detail, and they had to explain to each other what their story's about.
That's really good.
It was
really
amazing.
Intense.
Yeah, the capacity for each workshop is limited to 20.
Okay, but that's 20's a sizable.
Sometimes we have 20, sometimes we have 8, sometimes we have 12.
Sure.
You can't tell.
No, but
it
20's
works.
that's a significant number of people to be kind of looking after.
It is.
That's why 2 of us work really well together.
Quite right. So Kerry Hadley-Price, tell me about Kerry.
Kerry Hadley-Price is a lecturer at Birmingham University on psychogeography and creative writing, and she's coming to run a workshop for the day on psychogeography, which is as an inspiration for writing. Psychogeography is, you may have heard the term, you may not. Will Self's quite into it in a kind of urban setting.
Yep.
But it's the effect of place upon the person, identity, how you interact with the world, how it forms your character, where you start from, maybe how it, ends up.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be doing an awful lot of practical work with Kerry.
Yes. Interesting.
On place and person.
So the thing that strikes me there is place for me implies time, because when you're in a place you have to be there at a time, and quite often time and the place conspire to bring back, evoke strong feelings and emotions.
Absolutely. Well, if you think about what Anne was saying about the memoir writing and Paul Dodgson, music is part of a sense of place. That's why it's always used in films to locate it. And if you grew up, like I grew up in a steel town, on the top of the Lincolnshire Wolds, which shaped me. And then, living in Devon, I mean, goodness.
Yeah.
The effect of the landscape on us all and how that changes your sensibilities, what you notice, what you don't notice, and also changing environment. Gives you fresh eyes. You notice things differently.
So again,
you travel differently. You walk differently.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So again, people will be, everybody's familiar with that sense, and it's having that confidence and the understanding and being able to sort of externalise that and write about it.
Maybe not even externalise it. Maybe just let it run down your arm onto the page.
Or, yes, indeed. Your arm, very
Put the sensor away and see what comes out.
Yeah.
And then it's me.
Then it's you.
Dave Clark.
This bloke, yes.
It was so funny because Christine and I came whenever it was, and we obviously were planning the following, and we did privately say to each other, well, why don't we ask Dave? Because, we've had speakers talk about using social media for marketing.
Yeah.
We've had, various writers have come along and said how they've done their marketing. And here we were marketing our group on air.
Yeah, of course.
So basically, I can't remember which one of us suggested it to you, but obviously we'd planned it in advance and thinking, this would be a really good addition to our programme.
Well, it's of course, fantastic idea.
It is a fantastic idea, but think what you have to know about what you're writing in order to come on air and market it. I mean, we run through some questions beforehand. We have a little kind of, bat and ball of ideas and things. But if you're using airwaves and radio and podcasts to communicate what you're offering as a book, if you like, it ties in with the first workshop on, how to design the cover, because you need to know what's inside before you even wrap it up.
No, absolutely.
And so this is another wrapper, if you like. This is the marketing and comes on afterwards. So I'm sure that workshop is going to be Fantastic,
Yep.
Dave.
Well, I've got a few pointers there to think
guide
about.
you.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I mean, we try and include something on marketing once or twice a year. I mean,
Sure.
we do know, we're perfectly aware that writers don't like marketing.
No.
It's not one of their favourite jobs.
Sure.
But it's an essential part of it.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we slip it in
Yeah.
and make it as informative and as entertaining and helpful as we possibly can. But obviously, if you look at the programme as a whole for the year, there's the book cover one and yourself. But the other three writers are...
Sure.
The other three speakers are writers who would be sharing their genre or their journey or whatever it is they're sharing with us.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I think, marketing is interesting. Every activity, most people who do anything want other people to know about it. That's sort of in its simplest form. And, quite often, if it's really powerful stuff, other people, like-minded people, will find out about it, whatever it is, and share it. But sometimes it needs a little bit of a push just to sort of get it into the arena. So, and as people say, very crowded space, lots of channels, lots of content, lots of great content, lots of bad content as well. So it's all sort of wrestling, and it should be good. So October, fun in a flash. What's that about?
Well, we like to have a bit of pizzazz around that time of year.
Too right.
And once a year, we run a workshop at Watermill Cottages, where
Okay.
I live in the valley, the secret valley in Hansel,
Yeah.
with the literary history of Yeatses and WBs and Jacks and a bit of Bloomsbury, and
Indeed.
of course Wednesday Writers and me and Anne.
Yes.
So this one's about flash fiction. So in October, we're running a workshop on flash fiction. What is it? How do you write it? Where do you submit? Flash fiction is about writing small stories,
Right.
beginning, middle and end. Anything from 13 words, 50 words, 100 words, 500 words. It can be themed. You can be given 3 words and say,
Yeah.
okay, write something on this. So, but every word has to count.
Yes.
So if you like, you're really, really condensing a story into the power of those words.
Yeah.
So
like that.
yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, for many reasons, but one of the things that I'm doing not as part of the Wavelength radio show, but as part of my slow radio channel is I have an invitation for people to sound me out, or maybe I sound them out. I'm not quite sure. Maybe there's a bit of mutual sounding going on. But what I'm doing, I invite people to give me 2 words, and then I make a soundscape, which could be a minute long, or 15 minutes long. So the words I had recently were... can't remember.
Memorable.
Unforgettable.
Well,
Memorable, were they?
it was humility was the second word, and I can't remember the first one. Anyway, moving on swiftly. Quo Vadis. Where am I going?
Well, at the end of the year, we try and come up with a title that doesn't really give away what we're going to do at all. And well, because it's the last one in the year, and it tends to be a bit of a celebration, a bit of a looking back over what we've done, thinking about what we might do next year. By then we'll have next year's programme sorted anyway.
Yep.
But essentially, it's a kind of finale of the year, and we try and make it a kind of much more celebratory kind of thing.
And sometimes quite fun. I mean, one year we did we made collages about what we wanted for our writing and our writing selves for the year to come. So if you like, it's kind of visualization. And if you get it out there, it's like anything. Once you've verbalized it, it exists and you hear
And it
it.
happens.
No,
And
absolutely.
so there's all
Mood
kinds of
boards,
things.
they were basically.
Mood boards.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we do
yeah.
all kinds of things. We do some fun workshops and plans for what people are doing over the winter till we meet again in March.
Right. Gosh. So fantastic. I mean, what an amazing program. I mean, that's just I mean, what could fail to interest anybody?
We have good support. We've got a closed Facebook group that people join, so there's connection going on, and all our writers or the people who come and run workshops are welcome to join that, and also people who come and present a workshop are invited to come to any or all of the workshops for free. So there you are, Dave. Fun in a flash.
There we are. So I'll get my diary out.
I think one of the things which we're really proud of is that, I mean, our first year was obviously very much, we hoped that it would work, and it did, and we were really, really pleased with ourselves. And then, and we had loads of feedback as to what workshops they liked the most, and because we had different formats. Sometimes we interview the author in the morning, and then there's workshops in the afternoon. Sometimes, like with Anna, there'll be like a 2-minute introduction because most people know her, she's local, and then it'll be a whole day workshop. And other days it's, you know, we're just doing it, there's no one else involved. So there's a mixture of formats that we do, and I say we get loads of feedback as to what's going to be what they'd like to see for next year.
Sure.
And I think we've this year we got 5 speakers, not 4. We used to do 4, and then we'd have 2 sessions each that we basically front. But we have found that our members, or whoever attends, would like to have. They want to meet the other writers. They want to hear their journey and find out what's going on. So we're just literally responding to what information we're getting from them, what worked in the past, what looks like it would appeal to people, and. We're just facilitating. Really.
So you're getting a lot of feedback, and as I said, earlier on, it's evolving rapidly and picking up. So how do people find out more? Let's put that out there. So
we've got there's a brochure, a leaflet that goes in the local information centres and what have you, which we put all over the place. There's a Wednesday Writers page on my website, Scrivener Virgin, and also on Christine's, which is Journeywords.
Journeywords.co.uk.
Okay.
And we obviously we're both on Facebook anyway.
Okay. But you mentioned a Facebook group, but it's closed. But people can just apply to or ask to be
basically
included,
anyone who's attended any of the sessions is invited to join that, because then they can keep in touch. I mean, we've got some people who've come down from the Midlands. They're down here on holiday, see it's on at the Cottage Hotel, and say, oh, that looks interesting. But they can only come once a year.
Sure.
So basically, of course they can join. It's a way, we do encourage them. I mean, they only meet together once a month with us, 8 times a year. We would like them to meet each other for coffee once a week or something.
No, absolutely.
So, one of our objectives is to encourage them to meet with other writers, not just Wednesday writers.
And also, if people are interested in coming along and want to book, the best way is to contact Anne Rainbow. Easy name to remember. The pot of gold that will transform your writing life. If you contact Anne, her email address is anne.rainbow@btinternet.com, and you can get more information about the workshops, the detail, and book a place. It's not expensive. If you come for one session, it's 10 o'clock till 4:30. So it's a full day for £40.
Right.
And that includes tea and coffee.
Lunch. And biscuits.
And biscuits, Lunch is available at your own cost.
Sure.
And if you decide you want to sign up for all 8 in advance, you get a guest rate, which works out at £30 a session.
Yeah. Brilliant.
So it's very affordable, which was the point. We didn't want to make it exclusive.
No.
We wanted to make it open and, affordable for everybody to come.
So with all this feedback and this gravity of ideas that's coalescing, what's the ambition 2021, 2022? Where's it all going?
Well, and this is the beginning of the next decade. So
it is.
It is, yeah.
We'll just see where it goes. I mean, honestly, it's quite funny because every session we have, at the end of it, we do say in the last 15 minutes, like, hope you've enjoyed today. Please let us know what you've most liked about today. If there's anything you haven't liked, obviously tell us as well. And we just open to ideas.
Yeah, I think it's by the writers for the writers.
Yeah.
And to have, we do plan workshops, but based on feedback. So we evolve according to what people want, rather than saying, this is the grid that's going to happen.
This is what you're going to get.
Sure.
It's much more responsive, if you like.
Yeah.
And then, we often get people approaching us saying, we'd really like to come talk to your group. So we weigh that up and see what kind of workshop they want to run.
We're looking for variety. We're looking for inspiration. We're looking for I mean, we haven't had a poetry one yet.
No, we haven't.
Right.
Any poets out there?
Yeah. We've had How to Write a Commercial Bestseller. That was Jane Holland last year, or was it the year before?
Yep.
And obviously next year we will do something on marketing. I mean, we don't know at this precise second what angle we'll go for. Yeah. And also the other thing, I mean, I actually organised the kind of mechanics of the programme.
Yeah.
And essentially we find whoever we think we're going to have, and like I did with you, what dates can you do? We will sort out the dates for next year, all the dates.
Sure.
In the next 2 or 3 weeks, because we have to go to the Cottage Hotel.
No, that's right. You're very
advanced.
ahead of the game.
Yeah, we are.
Well organised ahead of the game.
We need to get them to agree the dates, so we definitely get the Cove Room on those dates.
Of course.
And then I can say to people, what dates next year can you do? And then I have to, it's like a jigsaw.
Yeah. And it all falls into place.
Yeah,
yes.
And then we work very closely with the speakers. We work together on timings, what they need, workshop content, and
any photocopying, that kind of stuff.
Brilliant.
So
we do all of that.
It's all professionally done.
No, absolutely. I can
Relax.
attest to that, I think, is the word. So, and it's all very relevant as well. So we just to sort of finally we talk about the sort of the relevance of all of this in the sort of bigger narrative of where we are today, society. I mean, my observation is, creative writing has always been important, but it's been the domain of the few with not so many channels. But now that's all changed.
It has. With social media and blogging, memoirs, self-publishing, the way that you produce content, the way that you write and what's available to get it out there has changed completely.
Yeah.
Let's have an example, for instance. Sarah Martin, you might not have come across her yet. We'll try and get her to come in and talk to you. She was blogging since, I don't know when, quite a long time. Conversations with Nell. Nell is her black Labrador.
Okay.
Conversations with the dog.
Yeah.
She has 5 dogs and
Nell's the one that
blogs every day. Well, I say blogs. It's on Facebook and it's also on her blog.
Yeah.
She got a book deal last year.
Right. Okay.
And her book comes out May, I think it is, but it's available on pre-order now. Right. And we've been with her since the beginning of that journey, and she was very nervous at the beginning, obviously, because she had this wonderful idea, but hey, is it really going to work? Sure. And with lots of encouragement from other people around her, we're really proud to be, that she's one of us. Yeah. And in fact, I had a guest blog for her on my blog on Monday.
Right.
So it's, people like that. We've got people who are about to publish or have published or planning to publish, what have you. And it's a very exciting journey.
It is. And yes, and then on the other hand, there are people who want to write a memoir for their family, or a memoir of where they live, which comes back to psychogeography again.
Yeah.
So there's people doing all kinds of different things. Somebody writing a history book for their grandchildren.
Yeah, absolutely. Great.
We're learning a lot from him.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's all. I mean, it's highly relevant, and it goes right back to what we were saying earlier on.
It is highly relevant. It's also the fact that somebody wants to witness a life. They want their future generations, and all the stuff about who do you think you are. Tracing your ancestry. If you have a book on the shelf with your name on it, or if you have a file on a computer with your name on it, or on a cloud somewhere, you've got a witness of your life. You existed. You were here.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Great. Well, we're going to close up, but thanks very, very much for coming in. It's been
thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Really interesting, and you must come back, of course. So you've been listening to Wavelength on Sound Art Radio, 102.5 FM. Dave Clark, and you can listen to this program again on Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, and many other podcast platforms. Please share and subscribe. Contact me if you'd like to come on the show, and don't forget, this is your chance to support small media. That's it for another week. I'll be back next week, and just to say, Anne, Christine, thank you once more for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you. We look forward to seeing you at Wednesday Writers.
Indeed, I will be there.
Podcasting for brands. I am thehow.com.